iRacers Lounge is the podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters Chris Scales,
Good evening.
David Hall,
Hey, hey.
Greg Hectus,
What's up, guys?
Mason Stiver,
Hey, Mike.
Tony Groves,
Howdy, gentlemen.
Tony Rochette,
Hey, everybody.
and special guest Matt Malone.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, well, thanks for coming. And my voice is gone. Wow, I have a laryngitis. I'll start with that. And so I won't try to talk too much, but let's get right into the interview. Matt, welcome to the show. Let's start by learning a little bit about you and tell us about when you first heard the word iRacing and when did you first get involved?
I first heard the word iRacing when I was doing some YouTube research on some new pedals and steering wheel because I was at the time playing a lot of console gaming like Forza Motorsports, and had an old Xbox wheel and pedal set that were, it's all plastic, and I wanted something better, so I started looking around, and I think I came across like Inside Sim Racing or something, and they were talking about iRacing. I said, what is this iRacing thing? And at first, I was very intimidated just by seeing videos of it and stuff like that, and then I got into it, and I haven't looked back since. That was years ago.
Yeah, you've been around 6 years so far, it says. I was just looking at your stats here. Your overall winning percentage on road, 16%. That's pretty good.
That's probably because of all the Mazda races I do. I usually
Right.
don't win the big GT races, but every once in a while I get in there. But yeah, 6 years. Wow, that I was gonna say 4 or 5 years, but yeah, 6 years been doing iRacing. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, absolutely. Tell us about your setup. What kind of hardware do you have? Wheels, pedals?
Right now I got the Heisenfeld pedals, just the pro pedals, and I'm running a Fanatic V 2.0 wheelbase with the Porsche RSR rim. I've had that for I've had the V 2.0. I was involved in the first batch that was sent out when they first came out with it, so I've had that for like 4 years now. Um, got a Thrustmaster H pattern shifter that I love because I do a lot of the Mazda and Mustang and stuff. Yeah, sitting on a aluminum profiling 8020 rig by 4Play, and got some button boxes from Derek Spears, triple monitors. I got an eye flag. I'm just looking around. I'm sitting in my rig right now, just looking around. It's years in the making, but yeah, I'm pretty well set up in a good place right now with equipment.
Do you like that Porsche rim for the ovals?
Yeah, it's pretty big. I mean, it's a wide wheel, so I mean, it'd be kind of nice to get a true oval rim, something a little bit bigger. But no, I do like it. It works for me.
All
That's
right.
what I use on the ovals as well.
Yeah.
Now, what you're famous in iRacing, and I say the word famous, is if you go to most iRacers and you say, name somebody in iRacing that you know about, the name Matt Malone might come up. And why is you're on Twitch, you're a streamer, you've been streaming for a long time. Tell us about your channel. Where is it taking you? What opportunities has it given you? And tell us about your stream.
Yeah, so right now, yeah, streaming on Twitch, just twitch.tv/Matt Malone. I changed my username. Back in the day, it was Showdown 1983, and I always thought that was kind of dumb. I don't know why I ever came up with that username, but since iRacing, you're forced to use your actual name. People know me as Matt Malone, so I was able to change my stream name to Matt Malone. Yeah, I just started, I didn't know anything about Twitch. I started iRacing, met some people in races that said that they were streaming on Twitch. I said, what the heck is that? Give me a link, I'll go. And yeah, went over there, and there they are streaming the race. They're watching replay, watching replay of me. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. It's kind of like YouTube, but everything's live. And I just really was blown away by the whole thing. It just really interests me. And I'm like, wait a minute, how? I was like, how could I stream my races? And then a couple of Google searches here and there, you just get a little piece of software and you can start streaming your races. You can have chat open and start talking with people. I just really just gravitated towards it really quick. It was right up my alley. But yeah, I mean, back then, just to stream your races. I mean, iRacing is very niche to begin with, and it's something that I just love doing, so I did it. I didn't care about how many people were watching, or I had no idea what it would turn into, and it's turned into this crazy community that we've built up, and it's just kind of like a place where people that are involved in the community can go and hang out. And I'm just happy to be a part of it, and it's given me huge opportunities. I mean, people will contact me, asking about, hey, how about you do this for us? Or, hey, we'll send you this. And, hey, why don't you come to Road Atlanta? Why don't you come to Germany? Why don't you come to Spain and do this, that, and the other thing and make some content? And yeah, I mean, I'm just really just blown away by all the opportunities it's given me. And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just playing a video game, I mean, let's boil it down to what it is. We're just racing fake cars on fake tracks, and it's just turned into this unbelievable experience that I do every day, and it's been a lot of fun, and I can't thank the viewers and the community enough because they're really responsible for. I mean, you said it. I didn't. My fame, if you will. I just think of it as it's a great community. My channel happens to be a place where people come to be part of the community. It's kind of like a hub that people can gravitate towards and just talk about sim racing, hang out, talk about your normal life, talk about what's happening. You know, Monday, Tuesday rolls around. Hey, what'd you do on the weekend? It's just really fun. I've met a lot of people. You meet them through the internet, and then there's times where you meet them then in real life, and it's been great. And I don't know what the future holds, but if it's anything like what it's been so far, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's only going to get better. So, yeah, I've always seen you watch your stream. You're always in the Mazda MX-5, and but recently I've seen you on the track in the NIS races. You have the same I rating that I do, right around 3,000, a little less. And we've been on the track nose to tail. Usually I'm in front of you though. But it's been fun to go watch your stream afterwards and see my car and see how it's handling and see if it looks loose or tight. And I'm just fascinated by that. And I used it for that. And I thought it was kind of cool. But it was pretty neat seeing you out there in the NASCAR races too.
Yeah, recently I've been. I mean, I've always dabbled in a little bit of oval. I mean, I'm mostly a road racer, but for whatever reason, I think just the more I've done oval, the more I started to learn oval. I started getting better at it, get slightly competent in it, and I've gained way more respect for oval and just the discipline that it is. And I just decided that if I'm going to do oval, I need to do the NIS. And so I was doing the Thursday night Open series for NIS, and it started with Daytona, and I got a victory there. And we're not talking top split or anything, but I mean I
But
have
still a
goals.
Daytona 500.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have goals to try to raise my I rating and try to do really well for these big NIS races. I got a live spotter, checkers or wreckers, helping me out for those big races, which makes it a lot of fun for me and the viewer to have like a live spotter. That's a lot of fun to hear our banter. And yeah, no, I very much enjoy the oval side of iRacing. It's uh, probably the majority of iRacing is the oval, but yeah, I just thought I'd kind of spread my reach around a little bit more and um, just do some more oval. The more I do oval, the better I get at it, and the more I like it. So yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, we've had some good races, and I don't think we've run into each other yet, but it's been fun. Um, Tell us more about you were involved with that Mazda thing where they brought you out to the track and they invited you to represent them in some way. We covered that story a little bit on the podcast. Tell us more about what kind of opportunity was that, and what other traveling have you been able to do?
Yeah, so Mazda reached out and they were doing the Road Atlanta race, the 10 hours of Road Atlanta. And they reached out and said, we think that you would be a great fit to help us promote Mazda. And at the time, iRacing was doing the Mazda Hot Lap Challenge. And I qualified in the Mazda for like the final race, and whoever won that race on iRacing was going to be sent to the Daytona 24-hour race to compete on the simulator to try to win it all. And Logan Clampett ended up winning the whole thing. But I was involved in the iRacing race to determine who would go to Daytona 24. And they knew about that, and they said, "Well, we like you. We see you doing a lot of Mazda. We think your story's pretty good." Because my wife also does. She'll race every once in a while too, and she's just starting out, so she raced some Mazda. So they like that aspect of it. So they said, "Why don't you come to Road Atlanta and you can hang out. There's some simulators there. We'll have you stream from the simulator and do some vlogging, and we'll do a little Q&A." And Kevin Bobbitt from iRacing was there, and it was just a general promotion of Mazda and the Mazda Hot Lap Challenge through iRacing, because they're trying to combine iRacing and real life racing, and to promote their little competition that they had going on there. So yeah, they sent us to Road Atlanta. I had been there before, years ago, to do a Skip Barber racing school thing. So I was there. I was there when there was no one there for the Skip Barber thing, and then I show up for a 10-hour Road Atlanta race, and the place is completely mobbed with people, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, we did some promotion on Thursday, Friday, and then they gave us full access to the race. So we watched the full 10 hours of the race that Saturday. And yeah, it was amazing. We did some live streaming there and met up with some people. And um, yeah, it was a great opportunity. It was really fun. That was like my first ever actual road race I had ever attended. And I don't know if anyone out there has been to a road race, but I mean, you just have free access. You just walk around anywhere. Like, hey, you want to go watch the race for a little while from turn 3? Just head on over, pick a spot, and sit there. And let's go head over to turn 10 and watch them from there. It's pretty much free reign. It's not like you have a seat and you sit there. So
Right.
that was a lot of fun.
Did you have to haul all your gear and your computer and all that?
No, they had the simulator there, they had a computer there, so I just kind of went there a little bit early, set up all the software and stuff, and yeah, just streamed right from their computer system. So that
Perfect.
worked out pretty well.
All right, good. Well, it's cool that, iRacing's taken off, and, people, they need people to get involved in stuff like this, and why not you, That's kind of cool.
Yeah, why not me? I'll go anywhere they want now. No, it is actually cool, because how it started was Mazda reached out to iRacing, and iRacing referred me to Mazda. So
Right.
big props to iRacing to choose me and my wife to go. So that was
Right.
really nice.
Well, it all comes back to streaming on Twitch,
Sure.
and there's a lot of streamers out there, and nowadays everybody's doing it. Ask my buddy David Hall here. He streams a lot, but how do you get, for these streamers? What is your advice? Is how do you stand out from the crowd? How do you make yourself known to iRacing, so when they have an opportunity, they say, "Oh, we're going to call David Hall because he's our streamer."
Yeah, advice to new streamers. And to be honest, it was kind of easy when I first started, because there wasn't as much competition. And believe you me, when I started 4 years ago or so streaming, I thought I was late to the game. I mean, there was people streaming at the time, and you know, I thought they had pretty good viewership, and I'm like, oh, if I start streaming now, and no one's gonna recognize me. So I thought I missed the boat years ago, but I still think we're still in the infancy of it as far as iRacing and streaming. Advice for new streamers: you got to have a really good microphone. You have to have a decent camera. You have to have a very consistent schedule, and you have to post that schedule somewhere. People need to know when you're on. just like TV, at a certain your favorite show comes on at a certain time every week or whatever. People need to know when you're on, and just have fun with it. And you need to interact with the chat. I see a lot of streams where even if there's only 4 or 5 people watching, maybe two of those people are actually chatting, and they're not even reading that chat. And it's like, well, I mean, a big portion of people that watch Twitch streams, they want to interact with the streamer. So I take that as one of the top priorities. Is I need to be reading chat. I need to be interacting with people. I need to um, be invested in them and their life and their issues and um, and become friends with people. So yeah, a consistent schedule is definitely one of the things. An interaction with chat, and um, I stick with it. I mean, I never went into it thinking that, oh my gosh, I can make money doing this, or I can have a big viewership, or this is going to give me opportunities. I just went into it as saying I'm doing some racing and I'm going to stream it, and if people want to watch, great. If they don't, that's fine. And maybe people will talk to me during the race and keep me interested. And so I mean, I use the chat to keep me entertained, is hopefully just as much as they find the stream to be entertaining for them.
Right.
So that's a
Can
big part of it.
hold on a sec here, Mike. We got a question here. JW Rock 83 asked the question just because of what you were talking there, Matt. Um, People joke about you being a full-time streamer, but you said you cannot do it. Do you think that you could possibly, if your channel keeps growing in the future, uh, become just a full-time streamer?
Hey, look, there's nothing more than I would want than to become a full time streamer. That's for sure. People ask me, it's kind of become a joke. And no, if certain things happen to where that would become a possibility, I would definitely want to. As of right now, it just isn't wouldn't work out. I mean, listen, it's I got a wife, and we're gonna be having kids in the next year or so, or 2 years, and the job that I have right now, it's a union gig, and it only runs for like 9 months out of the year. It's just
Sweet.
It's very lucrative right now, and I just right as of right now, I can't give that up. But
Right.
yeah, I would have loved to though. Trust me.
Oh yeah. Okay, and then I think my teammate Mark, he had a question for you. Was how do you keep that chat going, that connectivity while you're racing without wrecking? He was like, it's amazing that you're able to talk and respond and whatnot while you're in the middle of a race.
Well, I'll tell you what, road racing is much more easier to keep up with chat and interact with chat than it is oval. When I'm doing NIS oval, I almost never look at the chat because it's so demanding. But road racing, the more you do it, the more you realize once you come out of a corner and there's a little straightaway, you got time to look up at chat and interact. And, maybe I'll read something on a straightaway, you know, think about what I'm going to say, and then after the next turn, respond to it, and you just got to keep it flowing. But believe it or not, road racing, depending on the track, and depending on how fast of a car you're racing, it's easier than you think. And some of these tracks, I've been racing for 6 years, so and yes, would I be faster and more consistent and get better results if I never read chat? Well, yeah, maybe, probably, but I think reading the chat and interacting with people kind of makes it so you're more loose and you're not thinking so hard about each corner as well. So, um, yeah, and it's just a practice thing. Just like racing, the more you race, the better you're going to get at it, and the
It's a
more
good
you
idea.
you try a new skill, the better you're going to get at it. So, I mean, I still wreck reading chat. It happens every once in a while, but yeah, like I said, the more you do it, the better you get.
I'm always a little concerned about. I run in VR and I already have a sim racing app floating and a relative thing flowing, and I just don't know where I can put it where I could actually see it without looking too far away. Because in the VR, the car's a little bit more actually on top of you. Um, I did hear another streamer mention that he has an app that actually reads the chat to him. So I've been considering that as an option too because I want to interact I do a lot of. I'm the road course race guy
Mhm.
too, and there's some places where you can do it if you're in the right car, like in say Le Mans when you're on those long stretches. Definitely.
Right. Yeah, and VR, I have not streamed ever with VR, so I can imagine that'd be very difficult. But yeah, I've definitely seen VR streamers with the little bot or whatever that reads out the chat, so that definitely helps.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Tell us where people can find you on social media. How do they watch your channel? How do they get involved in this community that you've built?
Yeah, so the main platform is twitch.tv/Matt Malone. And then all my social media stuff is Matt Malone TV. So YouTube, Twitter, Instagram is just Matt Malone TV. And yeah, check it out. Also go to uh, griptvteam.com. GripTV Team is a Twitch, what do they call it? A Twitch team. You can kind of team up on Twitch, and we got some really good dedicated streamers on Grip TV. It's kind of like a TV network where we got X amount of streamers, and if you just go to the team page, you can see everybody on there, and whoever's live will pop up. And yeah, we've kind of built up a little streamer network there, so definitely check that out too.
Absolutely, and well, you'll always be Showdown 1983 to me, though.
Oh gosh, I killed him long ago, didn't you know? No.
Well, but that's what I remember. That's I watched
Yeah,
you
I
for
know.
years on that one. But
Sure, sure.
all right, well, thank you for coming. We're going to get into topics, but first, Greg, tell us about Sim Racing Authority.
All right, so this is where Mike leaves us misfits to do all this so he can rest his voice. So our sponsor, Sim Racing Authority, has their Sunday night Xfinity series. This week they held 140 laps at Phoenix International Raceway, and the iRacers Lounge seventh race for there. A dominating performance by Jake Nichols saw him take the pole and a victory with 128 laps led. Nate Tretto edged out Jake Nichols on stage win on lap 40 and brought his car home P2, only 2/10 behind Jake. In a race that saw a handful of large crashes, Brett Punkery, sorry if I butchered your name, Brett, sorry, was able to drive his way to a season high fourth place finish. Freddie De La Rosa finished third, and Eric Sabel rounded out the top five. Next week, we head to Kentucky with the regular season getting ready to wind down and the points race to make the chase extremely tight. So it sounds like they're getting closer to going after Jake now that they're not as big a gap.
Well, I mean, he's winning everything over there, and he's a peak driver. I mean, have you guys ever been in a league with a peak driver and they always win? And it can be very difficult and sometimes demoralizing.
I got lapped at Richmond
Thanks for the
not
follow,
Fonzie, Logan Clampett.
JW
That's
Rock.
the only experience I've had there.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the topics. David, damage model update.
Okay, quite a few little updates on here. They're looking to release the damaged model in the same way that they're doing the tire model now. They've kind of reconfigured it so that they can do it one car at a time, because every car has to be hand worked. And they're working on Skippy. They got a couple of videos ready. They're also getting a little closer on the stock cars, and they're hoping to release the majority of them at some point along the time this year.
All right.
Yeah, it says here the physics are still being worked on. For example, sometimes when a car crashes, a wheel comes off and it spins around like a top. I don't see the issue, but
I find that rather entertaining.
If it does it every time, that would be weird.
I'm just glad
Right.
that they got some info on it a little bit. Keep us informed is the best thing for them to do here.
Yeah, that's going to be a work in progress. I mean, they can take as long as they want with something like that, and I'll be fine with it because that's going to be a huge game changer if our computers will be able to handle it.
Right.
Another little detail: multi-class racing. Matt, I think you do. Do you do some of the multi-class racing?
Yeah.
Um, if say the Ferrari comes out with the damage model update, but there's a car in the Le Mans series that's not quite ready yet, it will automatically default back to the old damage model until the entire series of car suite of cars in that series is done.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
So
I would imagine they'd start with single car classes first, like Mazda and Skippy and stuff, and then move on.
yeah, because I could see like if they all of a sudden did do something like that, if the Ferrari did get it, maybe they just have their own Ferrari class just so people could test it out by itself.
Well, I bet they do the Porsche first in that arena.
All right, Greg, introducing the AI Cup Series.
So I was reading into this. This sounds kind of interesting. It's kind of just basically it seems like reading or watching NASCAR, but um, Zach R. Johnson had posted he's in the iRacing Cup Series AI Cup Series. Um, so he's going to start a league that only AI cars can be entered in and to do the event and um, it's going to go week by week. They're going to do super speedways, short tracks, road courses, and it's all the Gen 6 car. Um, it sounds like a pretty cool idea. So basically, you're just going to watch your AI car go around and around, and not there's nobody controlling any of it. So you can reserve your spot under introducing the iRacing AI Cup Series.
Can you
Art.
crew chief for the AI?
Good idea.
That'll be interesting. And I know that we had put here, should the iRacers Lounge have an AI?
Could
I
this
don't
lead?
know.
Could this lead into fantasy sports like fantasy racing,
Oh,
betting?
that's good. That's a good call.
Yeah, I don't even know if it'll have the functionality to do what this guy wants to do.
But maybe this puts the thought in the head that it's something that iRacing can look into. If it isn't possible yet, it could be.
If Yeah, and if anything, it's going to be good testing for AI, where everyone's going to be able to watch it and see if the AI is working as it should.
Right.
Kind of like a guinea pig series.
I could just see them all going to green and going down the backstretch at Daytona and just having like a 43 car field pile up.
Or it could just be single file the entire time, and if they're not programmed to like pass aggressively or anything, who knows?
We have that. It's called NASCAR.
It's kind of cool. All right, Chris, spotter packs.
Yeah, and we have a forum post by David Tucker. So he's making some changes to the spotter packs, or making some changes to the spotter that's probably going to mess up the spotter packs. It doesn't sound like we're getting really any improvements. It sounds like this is more of him making some changes to make it easier to translate the spotter into other languages. So I don't know that there's really a whole lot we can do here. It's just something to be aware of. I'm guessing I don't think there's that many people that use iRacing spotter, so this is probably more for the the guys that make the Jimmy Johnson
Yep.
spotter pack and crew chief. Like they're gonna have to make some changes. It looks like.
Yeah, this is their big warning because all those third-party spotter packs are going to break because
Uh,
they're changing them. Yeah.
that'll be it'll be interesting to see how quick those other ones get changed around then to fix have a patch for it.
I bet it's pretty quick. It doesn't sound like the changes are huge. I mean, it just seems like most of the guys that support the iRacing through these third party apps do a really good job of getting that stuff updated really quick.
So Dave Hoffman, the last guy who posted, is actually the guy who does the Jimmy Johnson spotter pack. So he's aware of it. He did say there are some new things in there, like for example, Go Green and Go Green Restart. And so that means he can program a different start to the race versus a restart to the race. So, so they are increasing the functionality as well. All right, Tony, iRacing on NBC.
Yeah, Logan Clampett posted on Twitter last week. He got a shout out from Parker Kligerman on NASCAR America. They did a kind of like a professional style ESPN race review of the peak race at Richmond there, with mostly showing Clampett and his teammate, and then Michael Conti and getting a lot of love from NBC with the Peak series.
Yeah, I was impressed. AJ Allmendinger and those guys were talking about it. They were really focused on the drivers associated with NBC more so than the race itself.
Yeah, it says they're looking at doing this weekly, so hopefully they'll expand that.
AJ, I think, has been running the sports cars a lot lately. I've been seeing an AJ Allmendinger 2 on the track.
All right. Mason, tell us about who we got listening.
Yeah, this is further down on that same forum post, but it looks like we have Mr. Tony Gardner listening to our podcast. He said, "Thanks, I enjoyed it," to a post by us that John Hammer shared. It was our Ray Alfala interview. He linked that in, and Tony Gardner said, "Thanks, he enjoyed it." So, looks like we have the year of at least someone up there.
That's cool. I don't think I've ever heard an actual written confirmation that we had iRacing staff actually listen to our show. And so that's kind of neat. They're certainly welcome. And we like to stay independent from them too. You know, we're a fan show or a driver show, and we're really not part of iRacing. So, David, tell us about the iRacers Lounge.
Warning, parental advisory. Okay, there's a post that somebody took. Apparently, at Kentucky Speedway, there's a gentleman's club near the track that's called iRacers. And somebody has taken a picture of a female looking driver with the iRacing outfit on, put it on a billboard, and then it says, "Psst, I'm at iRacers,"
Instead of
just
racers.
Well, this is
Oh, boy.
supposedly at the Kentucky Speedway track.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like somebody made it. This is like on
Oh,
iRacing.
this is actually the board. That's not a graphic.
Yeah, if you go there, you'll see the big billboard for racers.
Well, yeah, but they replaced it. So they
made
edited it.
Yeah, family friendly.
Okay.
All right. What do you? I mean, what do you guys think about them making it family friendly? Do they really? I mean, we want it realistic, right?
Supposed to be a simulation. What the heck?
Wow. I was gonna say, do you really?
I just feel like if I'm going to speak up, I'm going to get in trouble.
So am I. I had a comment. I'm just gonna leave it.
Well, couldn't they do the actual sign and then just give some blur to it? They don't have to change it, right?
Right.
I can see the VR guys really going bad with this one.
But the change is pretty legit because that's what proper drivers see.
I mean, would it be that everyone slows way down in that particular part of the track? Get a good look at it?
How many people are gonna jump on Kentucky now and just surf around on the camera?
Go find it. You can go on Google Earth and find this billboard too. Apparently, somebody said.
Control F12 for iRacing, so you can get a good look there.
And then if you hit Control Z, it'll let you move around.
All right, pretty cool. Mason, World of Outlaw.
Yep, the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Sprint Car Series had a race on Monday night. It was at Eldora, and it had intensely close racing through the heats with a .000 second margin of victory. But Bergeron Alex Bergeron scored his third win in 4 starts to kick off this season, and looks like he's a Canadian, so that might be why. But he's
Thank you.
He's beating these Casey Kane drivers, which is pretty cool. Beating the
He's
guys
beating
that have a real
everybody.
team.
He's like pretty much undefeated, isn't he, when he's in those cars?
Almost. I mean, the end was good, guys. The end of the race where they're racing for the lead, it was good racing. I mean, it was tight too.
Well, it's just so interesting because you have the Casey Kane drivers who are affiliated with the Real Race Team, and the Kevin Swindell drivers that are also affiliated with the Real Race Team, and he's beaten them.
Yeah, if you're a real dirt team and you don't hire this kid right now, you're missing the boat. You really are.
Can I say one thing too with the the pictures that get posted on here, man, they look really well done. Just the way that they come across with the way the dirt and everything looks.
It looks
And
real.
yeah, there's a 6-minute video too from the race. That's the A main, so you can watch the little 6-minute blurb there and get your race in.
Yeah, the last lap shootout was really good, guys. Check out. It was close and it was a good race. All right, Tony, Pro Trucks.
Yeah, apparently Tony Gardner chimed in the forum post of the short course off road coming in June thread. iRacing will be bundling the Pro 2 and 4 trucks together when they become available. That's pretty cool. So you get 2 for 1.
Nice.
I noticed they added they it's a possibility maybe of adding the buggies as well to this type of racing.
Yeah, to fill out the roster.
What I was always wondering with these things, these Pro 2, 4, and if they had the buggies, could you imagine if they set up a series where you had a heat within the Pro 2, and then you had a heat within the Pro 4, and then you went to the Pro Buggy. If you had all three of them you owned, and it could be a whole racing event to try and race
Exchange
all.
cars.
Yeah, where you'd be like a 2 hour time frame or something, and you could just race these different events to try and have it, because those are going to go by pretty quickly. Those races, like um, the rally cars, right?
Right.
What license level do we think?
Gotta be A.
Yeah, yeah. I guess with the pro title, yeah, you probably would have an A.
Right
But
now we've only gone up to C, so
they could probably do. I would say maybe the pro trucks would be like a B, and then when they got the buggies, maybe an A.
well the buggy is lower than the truck, isn't it?
I think they're faster though, if I remember correctly, but I'm not sure. I'm not a huge follower of that here in Canada. We don't get to watch a lot of different events like that unless you stream it.
Yeah, one of them has 4-wheel drive, so that's taken into account too.
But that's the difference between the Pro
And
2 and the
those
Pro 4.
It's part of it.
and those trucks are tall, so rolling over can actually be a concern when you're setting up your suspensions.
I want to see the damage model on those things when they come out too eventually.
Yeah, that's interesting because they'd be coming out with these new vehicles, but yet are they going to have the new damage model with them? I mean, they're going to build it on the old damage model and then eventually have to upgrade it again. It seems
Well,
extra work.
and the way you're saying that, it also becomes a thing over time where as they're building these cars, it might take them longer to get them done to make sure these
Right.
physics are right?
True.
Yep. All right, Tony Groves, track walk.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've seen this. This is a full VR track walk around the Nordschleife, Nordschleife, Nordschleife. I don't know how to pronounce it. You guys pick the one you like. We'll go from there. Um, so this guy, uh, from what I can see, I can only see it from a just desktop with monitors. I don't have VR, but basically showing you every corner, every turn, um, with the desktop version here,
Oh,
you
it's gonna
can
load.
click and drag and get a
Maybe
full
not.
view. So I imagine this in VR would look really, really good. Um, but giving you the whole layout, he spent something like 80 hours. I think he said he has 80 hours in to make this whole track, and it looks like he's planning on doing many more tracks just like this. Very cool if you want to have a good look at your turns and maybe pick some things out. He's got a website here that you can find this at, and it's irtrackwalk.com/Nürburgring24H. I imagine you go to irtrackwalk.com and you'll be able to find the links from there.
So this isn't the real track. This is the virtual track that he did. He made this.
Yeah, sorry, virtual track from iRacing.
Right.
Yeah, a full full walkthrough, um, and going through like it's amazing. Even if you just have a monitor, it is really easy and very friendly. You can see everything. Um,
Really gives you a shot of the detail. You know, when you look down at the pavement, or if you want to look at the grass and just over in the corner, everything is so detailed.
It's fun to
yeah,
look at all the graffiti too, you know.
Right.
David, did you happen to check this out at all? I know you got VR. I think
I,
you're.
I, I see. I haven't looked at it. No, I see Greg showing it on the stream just a little bit. It looks pretty neat.
To be honest, when I first clicked it and I didn't read the title there with when Tony was reading it, I honestly thought it was the track. I didn't think it was iRacing's version of it.
That's how real it
I
looks.
thought it was like Google Earth. I thought you
That's
were
what I
talking
was
about that.
thinking.
Yeah, it reminds me of GeoGuessr. You ever play that game? Like
Uh,
you guess where you're. They put you in a random spot in the world on
oh,
Google Streets, and you gotta guess where you're at.
I see. Yeah, I mean, it looks very real. I mean, it's you really have to look to tell that it's high racing. All right, Mason, Richmond Raceway, and Sim Seats.
Yep, we had Richmond Raceway Esports. They brought down two of their drivers and one other driver to Richmond Raceway for the NASCAR race this past week. And SimSeats also installed a rig there that they were shaking down. So it was Zach Novak, who is not a Richmond Esports driver. He's a Roush Fenway driver in the Peak Series. But Malik Ray and Jimmy Mullis are the two East Richmond Raceway drivers they brought down. It looks like they got some mouse pads from SimSeed out of that, so that's pretty cool. Uh, then we had them getting their own track walk of Richmond, the real Richmond, when it was raining out there. Um, then we had pictures of them shaking down the new Richmond Raceway SimSeeds rig. Looks like it has direct drive there, if I'm not mistaken. Big old MPI rim. Looks like it has thrustmaster pedals, maybe.
What amazes me is how young these three peak drivers are. Man, these guys are just kids, man, and they're wheeling too.
Oh yeah. And then it looks like they have a Top Gear style board of lap times up there, and it looks like Zach Novak was the fastest so far at a 19.683, when Jimmy Mullis was second before Malik Ray went out there. So we'll see if he can beat the time, and it looks like he did not. He had 19.7. So Zach Novak was the fastest in the SimSeeds rig around Richmond Raceway. Then it shows a little short video of them giving Novak some crap, some backseat drivers there.
Typical boys playing a video game or a game and some girl in the background and not paying attention to her.
But that nice curved monitor too. Those are
Oh
nice, aren't
yeah,
they?
big too.
I wish they had those around before I got triples. I probably would have went for those.
Those curved monitors are they're really popping up now.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh
look at the rig though that they did on the last link.
yeah, and then there's they've had this out before. I think I just pulled it out of the garage though. It's the SimSeats built Velocity Micro powered sim car. That's actually a Toyota race car, painted like the old Richmond Raceway Esports car in the Peak Series was, that I believe Jimmy Mullis drove. And he's got the hood up, showing the computers under the front with the SimSeats powered as well. And it looks a little dusty, but we'll get that wiped off, I'm sure.
So the computers are where the engine will be.
It says about it's pollen, not dust. It says at the bottom here, sorry about all the pollen.
All right, let's keep moving. A fixed start time, Greg.
So, I was agreeing with this. I'm trying to find the original post here. Who was is it Bob? Bob Bryant asked the question about the fixed series, at least in general, having them start an hour on the hour instead of the way that we have them staggered right now. So if you had a B fixed start at 2 p.m. and then had an A fixed start at say 3 p.m. and then this, the trucks at 4 p.m. or whatever, you can get more racing in the series that you want to participate in. I think it's more him coming up with an idea to try and drive participation and people being able to race more with it. And it sounds like Tyler has Tyler Hudson has read it, and he's going to do some digging in it and see if they can change anything about it. So
No matter what you do, people will complain, but I mean, it is fun to jump from race to race, without any downtime.
well, and I think the problem is right now, like I'm trying to think of what the times are. Is it like one starts on
It's
the
like a
hour?
5 minute gap.
Yeah, so if you get in one race, you got to wait almost 2 hours to get into your next race. I think it's a good idea to try and maybe if you could get two in a 3 hour span instead of one in a 2 hour or 3 hour span.
I always get a little frustrated that the A Open and the IMSA start at basically the same time. But both of those races are so long now that being ready for the next one can be kind of tricky. So I don't know if I'd want them to adjust it or not. Because if I do a IMSA, it finishes right about when the next A Open is about to start.
I always love how you jump from one to the other, go from road to oval.
Well,
There's
road is so much more. It's the time you know exactly when it's going to end with a long A Open, depending on cautions. I mean, that's a huge variety of time.
Kind of like
And
the
they're
other
just
night.
they're different worlds. I mean, I've got a higher rating. I'm our road guy, I guess, or whatever. But I still got a higher rating in oval. I still do better there. Um, but there's different intensities to both of them. There's slightly different skill sets, and I enjoy the variety that it brings to the sim. Instead of just being stuck in one mode all the time. So all the other guys, I guess you guys get that by going to trucks or B car, but I focus on the A car and then I jump in either the Ferrari or the Porsche prototype.
I used to remember in the day when you're in the rook, like when I first started 10 years ago, when you were trying to get through the rookie license, I would go from rookie legends race to rookie legends race to rookie legends race, like it just one after another. I probably did like 20 in a 5 or 6 hour span because of the way they're spread out.
Yeah, and back when I first started, there was no fast track. You had to make it through a whole season before you could get promoted.
All right. What's up with Long Beach, David?
A 10-year veteran posted a question. There was a race at Long Beach recently, and he was asking if iRacing has discussed finishing the Long Beach track. And Alexander Horn responded with a real simple, plain answer: it will remain as is.
All right.
Yeah, that's that. I don't know. Well, yeah, that was confirmed. I talked to Kevin Bobbitt too. When I was in Road Atlanta, and that was confirmed then as well. It's just not going to happen. It will remain a tech track like forever.
It's
Unless
the buildings
something.
are too much.
Yeah, it's just too much surrounding the track. Yeah.
Well, and
But yeah,
it's always the things with the street surface, they're pretty much the surfaces are changing all the time, and the scenery changes all the time. So one year to the next is a lot of differences to it. So if they scanned it how many years ago? 5 years ago, it's probably a lot different than it was 5 years ago.
I
Wow.
mean, unless hardware makes a leap unforeseen in the next 10 years and they rescan it, I don't see it happening.
I don't know if it's in there. Some tracks I would not care about the scenery if that because it changes so much, especially when it comes to street courses. It's I mean I know we like the full immersion, and I mean I run VR, but the track is what really matters.
So this here, saying this Long Beach thing, this confirms that you'll never see Monaco then either.
I don't know if it does or not. Now, I heard during the real IndyCar race at Long Beach on the broadcast something about they were getting ready to maybe do some construction and redo the convention center, and they would actually be removing streets, and it could very well affect the track on a go forward basis, and the track might not ever be in the same configuration that it was run in this year.
The question would be, would people want them to put tech tracks in official schedules? Think people would go for that?
Well, that's the question that they were arising because this would have been the week that they would have had to run
Right.
Long Beach in the new IndyCar one, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if I would imagine they wouldn't want to show that for like newer members. Like, hey, what the heck? This track's not done. Why is it on this? Why is it on the schedule? But I just wonder how much pushback they get if they put it on a schedule.
Can it be run in a league?
Sure. Yeah, you can do
Okay.
hosted there. Yep.
That's weird.
All right.
I don't think I've ever seen it as a hosted though. Like it's not common.
Right.
No, I don't think many people have it.
No.
All right, Chris, time's a wasted.
Earlier this year, iRacing added flash photography in the crowds, and iRacer Trevor Maynard put up kind
No,
of
you missed one. We're talking about the one where the moving people.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, but so this started with on that thread of announcing the flash photography. iRacer Trevor Maynard wrote kind of a joke post. When are they going to simulate drunk fights in the stands about how Austin shouldn't get to number 3 and how Kyle's won more races than Petty? That would be peak realism. I'd be willing to take the FPS hit. And Alexander Horn actually chimed in. And he said, "I don't know about the fights, but we're working on people moving and walking around the stands. Close enough."
Does that mean that someone's gonna get up on the fence at Richmond when they're racing around?
Yeah, probably. That's what it sounds like.
One of the things that you can do, especially if you're in VR, is when you're sitting gridding, you can kind of look around, or if it's on the scenic view, you can kind of look around. And sometimes it looks like the song could be Apocalypse because they'll be frozen in a pose with their hand pointing out or up in the air. And I always thought that looked pretty funny.
Hold on. So, I have to rant for a second. There is no part of my day where I've woken up and thought, you know what I wish was on iRacing? People moving.
Well, I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. And like, I have a lot of those bells and whistles turned off, and even if they were on, I probably wouldn't notice them because I'm so glued to what's going on in front of me. But I don't know. What do you think, Matt? Though, wouldn't those little things like that, don't they add a little bit to the realism for people that are watching the stream or something like that? Though?
Yeah, I mean, but at what cost? I mean, how much is it going to affect my frames? I mean, they talked about the flash photography. I guess I've never seen it, or I don't have the right graphic settings, but I've never seen the flash photography.
We saw it the other night for the first time at Richmond, I believe. I remember. I think David, you said something about it, didn't you?
I saw
That's
it.
the first
Oh
time
yeah.
I've noticed it. It hasn't been showing up at the road courses at night for me.
Is it only night races on oval then?
We'll take a look at the next topic.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was part of this.
Well, I was gonna say before we get to that, just imagine with those people getting up, moving, and walking around. Think about like us guys down here in the bottom splits. After like the 17th or 20th caution, half the crowd gets up and leaves.
Gets up and leaves, or they start throwing beer down at you. They're gonna start hucking the beers down on the track. Does that mean? Oh, does that mean we could do the Tony Stewart water bottle out for a caution?
Or the animation of the crew chief jumping in the car.
Oh.
I mean, I love all the bells and whistles. Don't get me wrong, but it's like the computers just can't handle it. It seems like So, do I love all that stuff? Yes, but at what cost?
Well, and the problem is it's not just like it's one thing to program it as a game that you're by or a simulation by yourself, but you're rendering this with everything else going on as well that the computer has to keep up with whatever the other people are doing.
Well, and John Henry was saying there wasn't enough people to do all the things they wanted to do. So take the person doing this and put them on the tire model as far as testing it.
Yeah.
All right, so about those flashes, Tony.
Yeah. So, you guys got to see the flashes as long as you had it turned on. But they're not. They're not at all the oval tracks yet. The tracks that you'll see the flashes at are the Charlotte 2016 and 2018, Daytona 2011 version, Auto Club, Richmond, Kansas, Volusia, Knoxville, Lima Land, and Eldora. they are obviously working on the rest of the tracks, but that's what you get for right now. Um, Now, in order to see the flashes, you got to make sure your particles are turned on. Um, and now,
Frame rate killer.
well,
Yeah.
sure, but so is everything
Particles.
else.
Yeah.
Particles. I had to turn those off. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way it kind of works is they posted on the forums that there'll be a few flashes every lap, but they pick up a lot at when the green flag drops, a crash happens, the last lap. That's when you're going to see a lot of it. So it's not happening all the time, but I guess it kind of mirrors real life, right?
Now, I spent a lot of time on pit road at Richmond, sitting in the car doing repairs, and every restart, sure enough, I would look up. It would catch my attention because I'd hear the cars, engines go up, and I would look up to my right, and sure enough, all the light bulbs going off in the stands. It looked kind of cool.
Now, if you look through this thread, and anybody wants to get a good lesson on how flash photography works, um, a few of the guys there totally hijacked that post, and well, you can have a great education on how flash photography works. It's kind of interesting, actually.
I was gonna say I've never used flash photography when I'm taking pictures with that track.
Cameras nowadays are a lot better than what they were when they needed flash photography all the time.
Is it really going to do anything if you're up on like row 70?
It'll light the guy's head up. It's in
Nope.
front of you.
All right, next, Greg, retired driver race.
So this is a quick one here. This week on PRN Fast Talk podcast, Doug Rice, Alexis Perkins, and Jeff Hammond weighed in on a question if we could have a retired drivers race at Darlington for the throwback weekend. So like drivers like Stewart, Earnhardt Jr., Edwards, Gordon, they basically said no, but the idea perhaps would be better suited for a special race than iRacing. Then, so what do you guys think of that? If they could show it up on the big screen?
That would be cool. A few years ago, they were doing a retired driver's license type race at Bristol, and we got to watch them. And then there was a severe accident, and they actually had to airlift an elderly guy out. I don't think they had spotters because he came around full speed when a car was sideways and T-boned the guy. And that was the last time they've run any race like that.
So
So this would be nice.
retired bottom split?
Yeah, so I like the idea. I think it's good. Put it together. If Darlington, we do it on Darlington weekend even. And have it kind of like a throwback. Not a bad idea. Okay, David, talk about Porsche's Super Cup.
All right, we had the season opener this weekend, and Joshua Rogers took the victory and is now $1,000 richer. He qualified first and finished the sprint race in fourth, and then came up through the field. He started in fourth and came up through the field and to finish first. Apparently, the 30, I didn't make it all the way through this race. The field was and the second race was it had quite a bit of attrition. I guess everybody was excited and really trying to make their mark, and they had a lot of spinning early, and I know how that feels starting just about any IMSA race at Monza. But he finished the race and obviously takes the point lead. He's about 20 points ahead of Mitchell DeJong, and in third place is Sebastian Job.
And the video that Robin Rostenvines put up on the forums, he did a remix video. It was amazing. I mean, he did a great job. Definitely go check that out on the forums. Also, Alex put together a remix video that was also great, that really highlighted that pass for the lead. And it's amazing watching these guys race because they are so good. And just to get that little run to the outside, and they're trading off, inside, outside, I mean, the racing was great. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Yeah, this series is going to be so much fun to watch. If you've ever driven this car, you just know how on edge it is. It feels like all the time. And for these guys to be close, racing this close at this highest speeds, I mean, it's crazy drama, crazy good racing. It's going to be a lot of fun. I don't think people understand just how hard this car is to drive, and to drive it as fast as they do is just, they're on a whole nother level. It's insane.
Back when I was driving the Audi, I really struggled with it, and I actually found the GTEs easier to drive than the GT3s.
Well, yeah, but this is the Porsche Cup car. I mean, it's in a class of its own. It does not, it's not forgiving whatsoever. But yeah, GT3 and GTE is so much easier to drive than these things. Oh yeah,
It's the GT3 class, though, I believe.
right. But I mean, it's not the same as like your Ferrari and your Audi GT3. Um, yeah,
It's
this
a
is a
handful.
great series. Yeah.
All right, yeah, check it out. It was fun to watch, and those remix videos, yeah, I was like really liking it. All right, and now for the final word, Phil's pit stop.
User in your channel stopped recording. User in your channel started recording.
All right, thanks, Phil. I think it was Kyle Larson who said the
Anybody that's
competition is
watching, this
tougher
is
than
a thing we
iRacing,
insert into
more
the
so than real
podcast
racing. And isn't that why we're all here anyway?
as
Is
we
for the
go.
good racing.
So it's something that only
All right,
listen to in the
let's jump
podcast.
into hardware software. Who's first?
Mason.
Yeah, this one popped up on one of my Facebook streams, so I thought I'd put it up there. It's the Indiegogo Bit Furniture Elements. Um, they they are magnetic, connected, kind of like cushions that you stack to make chairs and tables and such. They sell them in little kits. But they did show a picture of someone using it as a racing, um, uh,
Cockpit.
yeah, cockpit. They just put a piece of like metal over top of two of them. So that could be a workaround for those of you on non-direct drive wheels. I would hesitate to put a direct drive wheel on that.
Yeah.
Looks like it's just good for making forts.
Yeah, look at the video, 1 minute 30-second mark, and you'll see it.
It's got to be the most comfortable
Using
rig
bit
ever,
accessories
though. Like,
adapters
seriously.
to build a gaming
And you can turn
console
it
for
into a
different
bed
size
when you're done.
players.
Don't show my daughters this.
All right, Greg, D-Box controller.
So, Mike, I'm trying to figure out what this one is here. I missed this one. I didn't see that my name was on this one. I've seen it, so I'm guessing from what I could read here. Um, sorry, the links aren't opening up here. It's
All right, Mason, go ahead and tell him. I can't talk.
yeah.
Yeah, so
I missed this one. Sorry.
this is the motion platform controller, is what it looks like. Um, it's called the SFX 100, and it's been developed and shared, rivaling the D-Box, um, and blows away some of the seat movers at a fraction of the price. Is what the selling point is for this one. Um, it looks like, let's see, where does it go here? It's 200 millimeters per second vertical acceleration versus the D-Box platform mover, which is 100 millimeters per second. So that's where they're getting the numbers at. It looks like a little actuator kind of deal there, and yeah, it looks like it's a pretty cool deal. It's a little over my head. He does use some 3D printing on it. Um, to cut down cost, it seems.
So it's an alternative to D-Box. And D-Box is expensive, so...
It says you have to wire your servo driver controllers for them to mains power. There is no standard 3-pin connector. So if that means something to you, then good for you.
Yeah, SFX 100 is what it's called. All right, Tony Grove, Simulation 1 Systems.
Yeah, this one's up in our neck of the woods, Greg. These guys are out of Toronto, supplying all us Canadians with all our racing needs. More specifically, they're offering this extremely badass shifter.
This is the best shifter you can buy.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I think you could probably strap a stick of dynamite to this thing and it would just laugh at it. It's called the Quaife H pattern shifters. Somehow I got all the topics today that has like ridiculous names. Anyways, this is an absolute beast, and I'm not sure exactly how to describe it, except it's extremely thick metal. Everything's metal on it.
It belongs in a real race car, is what it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. It what the heck do they call that? Like formed, like the main piece is just all one solid piece,
Yeah,
and
machined metal or
yeah, there you go. It's
$2,500.
yeah,
That's
20.
crazy.
Now, this is $2,500 Canadian, so it's probably like $30.
A Brent. Pack of gum.
There's a video if you scroll down, you can see it in action. But it's pretty cool. I mean, I think Bino said that this is the best shifter money can buy.
I'd believe it.
I was gonna say, yeah, for good reason too. I think this is one of the most expensive shifters we've seen.
Now, if you click on the home page or go to products, they do offer other stuff. So check that out.
Well, I was just gonna say, just so you guys know, for comparison, for the Canadian prices, you got the Fanatec has a part on here, and their direct drive wheels is like $1,600 Canadian for the DD1 and $2,500 for the DD2.
Oh. All right, so they're reselling. They got all kinds of different stuff. They have D-Box as well. Check them out if you're in Canada.
Yeah, and that the website simulation1.ca.
Okay, Mason, what's next? Sequential shifter.
Yeah, I got a good name to pronounce here. It looks like iOlogs. Is how I'm going to try that. AIOLOGS. iOlogs project. It's a sim sequential shifter. 165 US dollars. They're taking pre-orders now until the 26th of April. And the sequential shifter looks like all metal, and it's not quite as robust as the other one we looked at before, but it's still a solid piece of machined metal. Uh, it bolts right onto an 80/20 rig, or you can get the clamp to clamp it to a desk. Uh, it's got the plate for the T-slot profile, like I said there. But yeah, it looks like a pretty solid shifter. I mean, they show a couple videos of it, how much movement it takes, or how much force it takes to move it. And yeah, if you're looking for a sequential shifter, check this one out.
Or
iLogs
handbrake.
project.
Yeah, at the top you can click on handbrake, and they got a very similar product, but it's a handbrake.
So it probably is more analog feeling then.
Yep.
Price is right, I think.
It's a good, was 165 for the handbrake. The sequential shifter is the same price, so that's a pretty
Yeah.
good price. That's competitive pricing.
Yeah, considering the Thrustmaster one is like 130 or something, that one's all metal.
Right, it's much better.
Yeah.
All right, David, SemiCube. We got pricing.
Oh, Champion was, or Raymond Chapman, sorry, he's an iRacer that I see often in the IMSA. We wrote about the City Split. Was asking a question on what separates the SC2 actually from the SC1, and he was asking if it's worth the $3,300 that Daily has posted, or $1,500, I guess, for the lowest torque version. And there's quite a few replies in here. Discussion. One interesting discussion is a fellow replied with a comparison, and he kind of rated which ones he should consider entry and mid and high price point. And he was saying that he thinks the DD1 should compete with the SE2, the DD2 should compete with Pro, and the SE2 Ultimate should compete with the Boogeyman. I have the DD1 on the way, and it's definitely not. It didn't cost me 3,300.
Right. Now, if you go to the next link, you'll see the pricing on the SimiCube 2. They have the Ultimate and the Pro and whatnot, and then the Sport. Now, the Sport is 1,141, and then the Pro is 1,332, and then the Ultimate 2,973.
So I would consider the Sport more of the entry, and
Yep.
that price is closer to the DD1.
Right. The DD1 is comparable to the SimiCube 2 Sport. Right. And then the Pro is comparable to the DD2.
So I
And then
mean,
the Ultimate is just Ultimate.
Ultimate is like, yeah, for the big boys.
It looks like this is gonna ship in early May, and so pre-orders today.
All right, let's keep moving. Craig, we heard back from a story from last week.
so we're back from the Swedish rigs that it was a SwedishRigDesigns.com. Said hi iRacing. So I heard you mention the Swedish Rig Designs on your last podcast, which is great. And I love the word is being spread has been spreading. Um, he started the Passioners project last year, but turned into a registered company on the 1st of January this year. Um, so they're really basically fresh out of the gate. Their supply of rigs for the first ever Swedish championship in sim racing late January last year. His rigs he considers them like an IKEA inspired manual, so they can assemble like IKEA. Um, you assemble an SRD rig. No one, uh, no one follows the manual. Has ever gotten it wrong. Um, so that he's just basically giving us a shout out back about us talking about it. So it's nice to hear that he's listened to the podcast. So thank you. And so if you want to go again, that the website's SwedishRigDesigns.com.
Yeah, I did put a link up there. I had mentioned that they didn't have a integrated monitor stand, but he corrected me and has a link up there for the SRD Pro Tri with the integrated monitor stand. So take a look at that. He's currently the only supplier, or currently he is only shipping within the European Union, but looking into options to get to the U.S. So
I love that he mentioned that they have proper instruction manuals after hearing Mason's frustration with his rig assembly.
Okay, and then Chris. Next, a reminder about how triples should work.
Yeah, just a small novel about how triples should work, but I think this stuff's important. So, right down to it, he said this was actually kind of a support post um, that David Tucker was trying to help an iRacer figure out some freezing issues he was having. He went to talk a little bit about SMP and SPS. What he said is it really all comes down to how you set your monitors up. If you line them up in a row, not angled in, then you don't really need to do anything. Just treat it like one massive ultra-wide monitor that just happens to have bezels in it. That will use the least amount of CPU and give you a distortion-free image. However, your potential max FOV will be limited. This is just fine if you don't have the computer power to handle the rest.
Okay, I'm going to stop you. So what Matt was talking about with the big widescreen one monitor, that's kind of what he's referring to. Is you could take your triples and treat them as one monitor, and set your options up that way, and that would be the least taxing on your computer. So if you had a real crappy computer, that would be the way to do it.
Yep. And he said if you want to get more out of your monitors, you turn on the render separately to each monitor stuff and angle the monitors in. You can use our calculator to work out the geometry, or the one I wrote for Ed Racing. The goal here is to get a 180 degree FOV with the side monitors angled in at 60 degrees and the whole thing being a touch closer to your face than the width of the center monitor.
Okay,
It's
wait.
this trick. Yep.
Now, I just want to point out what the goal is. 180-degree FOV is the goal when you have triples. The goal is to have a 60-degree angle between the monitors. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, he said this is tricky to get with 24-inch or smaller monitors, but it can be done with careful layout. As you notice with this, as you notice, this renders the world 3 separate times, and that in turn slows everything down quite a bit.
All right, so this is how I have mine set up, and this is how Mason has his set up. And this is what you do when you have a good computer with triples.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can see the difference. Like, yeah, with the first one, it's just really just rendering one screen, and with the second option, it's rendering 3 separate screens. And also something to keep in mind too, kind of goes along with this, is the same. There's an option in iRacing for mirrors and how many mirrors you want to use. It's important to keep in mind that there's no such thing as mirrors in a game or simulator. So those are also going to be instances of another monitor. So if you're having performance problems, maybe it's not that. Maybe if you have 5 mirrors turned on, you're adding extra monitors basically. He goes on to explain some of the new features they've added, SMP and SPS. The SMP, simultaneous multi-projection, is a compromise between the two options above. It lets us render as we are sending once into a single large monitor, but uses depth information to warp the image into something resembling the second option. It takes a relatively recent card and driver to make it work, and even then it's not perfect.
Okay, so that's for people who have triples or are struggling with making it work good, and you don't have the horsepower. And so you try SMP, and that will compromise between the first item we talked about and the second one.
Yep. And SPS, single pass stereo, is for VR.
Only.
And follow, yep, yep. And follow. It's pretty much the same thing as SMP. It's just SPS is the VR version of that, and it follows the same idea as SMP, but lets you warp one image into 2 images needed for stereo rendering. I believe he does go to say that this guy had a 1070 card. He said he thought that was too old and that he needed a 1080 or greater. I don't believe that's true. I think you can do SPS with any 10 series card. I know I have it enabled on mine, and I have a 6 gig 1060, and it made a huge difference in the workload on my computer.
It helped mine quite a bit on my 1080 as well.
Yeah, and that's what he goes on to say. If it was SMP and SPS, it says both options should let you reduce the workload on your GPU and CPU, and in particular, they should raise the minimum frame rate. This is the average frame rate. That is the average frame rate may not go up, but the worst parts on the track where it all seems to bog down tends to get better. And like I said, it made a big difference on mine. I went from having just about all the bells and whistles turned off to run VR with a 1060, and with SPS turned on, I can turn most of those bells and whistles on and have a solid 90 FPS.
But remember, with SMP, when you're running triples, if you have SMP on, you can't have particles on. So
It is a compromise, yeah.
Yeah, I just throwing
User
that
in
out
your
there.
channel is recording.
Yeah, and one thing that I did is instead of having it set up through the NVIDIA graphics option, I did it through the app INI, which did cut some of the top and bottom off the screen, but I like how it looks better that way. So I'm not using the NVIDIA surround. I have it set up as triples through the app INI.
What it allowed me to do was to use the overscan feature with Oculus and overscan, and I basically don't have a screen door effect anymore with the overscan, and really it helps quite a bit.
Okay, let's get into results. Richmond, NIS, Thursday fixed. I got P21. Caught up in other people's crap. 8 minutes damage. Friday open, Tony Rochette.
Yeah, P31. Just like my Thursday Open last week, I ended up finding a hidden sideways car and smashed right into him and ended up blowing up. And after running the top 10.
Ouch. All right, Mason, B3.
Yeah, it was a hard race, but came away with a P3.
That was the race that me, you, and David were in that had 20 cautions for 101 laps.
Whoa.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got back in the pack there, but made my way back up.
I think I streamed for 2 hours and 10 minutes, if I remember correctly, for that race.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of time. I managed to eke out a P7. It's not my best track. I just basically concentrated on surviving.
Yeah, and I got a P12, but I was up front, up there with Mason, but I had my own doings that made me fall back.
Okay. Saturday, Tony.
Yeah, P10. Spent most of the race in the top 10 on last restart there. Had fresh tires behind me and older tires in front of me. Got three wide just before the start finish line. Unfortunately, I was on the outside and I bounced off the wall.
Still topped it.
Yep.
All right, let's talk Sunday Open.
Well, I did a Thursday race.
All right, no, tell us.
Oh, sorry. Thursday, NIS, it was probably like second split. It was 2,300 strength of field. I ended up getting fifth with the number 5 car. Out of the 200 laps, there was 87 of them under caution.
Wow.
18 cautions, yeah.
What a shit show.
Plenty of time to concentrate on the chat
And I had only 8 incidents, but I still gained 1.13 safety rating.
So you were at your you were at the thing and went over an extra limit
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I got a question mark, yeah.
All right. All right, Saturday. Or no, Sunday Open. Tony.
Yeah, I got a P flipping third.
Third?
I ran top 5 all race, even led some green flag laps. I had a hell of a fun race, especially with the 2 top cars. That was probably one of my best races I've ever had.
Wow. Man, was it a shit show?
Not really. I think there was probably like 12 or 13 cautions.
Like 20.
Nope, but that was a redemption race.
All right.
User left your channel.
Mason.
Oh, this one was for fun since I had the 3rd place already, but qualified first, a whole 10th faster than the field, which was awesome. But the track temp just jacked right up about 10 degrees at the start of the race, and Set did not like it, so self-spun from 4th and got hit, blown the engine, race over.
All right, David, Peanut.
I was caught up. Was the self spin where I got caught up as well, Mason? Or that was a different incident, wasn't it?
You hit a lot of things.
Yeah, I got caught up in a bunch of different incidents. Just people wrecking in front and not being able to dodge it. Spent the first half of the race fixing the damage and climbed back up to about P7. A late caution once again. Picked the wrong tire strategy and lost 2 more spots. Finished 9th.
All right. And then Sunday night I got a blown engine after only having 1 minute of optional damage in a wreck that I couldn't miss. And Mason, you were in that race. You survived a little longer than I did.
Yeah, it was rough by the end of the week. People were just sending in at that point, I think.
It was ugly out there. I mean, let's talk about that. Why is it so ugly this week out at Richmond?
The problem is that car. I don't know if it's the setups that you can make, but it doesn't seem to suit that track, and everybody's got a decent speed. They're so tight together. The only way to get position on somebody is to actually dive into the corner and you almost gotta slide job them to get out of the corner almost, because it's just the outside can hammer you down on the bottom and you can't get off the corner, and if you do get off the corner you're spinning to the inside.
Well, they were talking about this on the Door Bumper Clear podcast. They were saying that this track seems so much more aero dependent than it used to, and that you would push harder behind the car than you used to. So, I mean, I thought there was tons of grip out there until all of a sudden there wasn't.
So
Yeah,
I think I'm the only one that. I would say I think I'm the only one that did.
Thanks Romero Q for the follow. I think it's Romero Q.
Yeah, and the other
If I
thing
got it
I
wrong, I
was thinking at
apologize.
Richmond seemed to be the blown engine after just a tiny bit of damage.
Right, that happened to me too.
I took 15 tape off on that race where I got the damage, 15% off, and was still overheating.
All right, David, how's our standings going?
Okay, as of post Richmond in the Open, Chris had a slightly better finish with me than me, opening up his lead to 20 points again. And Stiver still hanging out there in third, 29 points behind. And then in the fixed league, Brent bringing home that win. We'd already talked about it last week, but it's in the points now. But Hull is also staying right on his tail. McCoy takes the lead back, but Hull is on Bill Hull, our social media guy, is only 5 points behind, and Ellis is keeping up 24 points behind. Everybody's within the race.
All right, Road to Pro, Brent McCoy got wrecked by a lap car out of third. Yikes.
Yeah, he was running good. I was crew chiefing him because I didn't get there in time for the race. He was top three car the whole race, and just on the 30 to go, got wrecked out at the four.
Dang. All right, and then Chris, you got a P4 and the OBRL.
Yeah, Tony and I ran Irwindale Monday night in the K&N cars, and it was a pretty fun race. It's a tough track to pass. I did make one pretty dumb mistake. I wrecked Kevin in the '89 car. I tried to. He left me a door, or he opened the door on the outside coming out of the corner. And I just kind of stuck my car in the hole, and that was kind of a dumb thing to do, trying to make a pass on the outside like that, and earned him. But had the fastest lap of the race and passed the most cars. It was probably one of the better WRL races I've had.
All right, and Tony, you almost made it.
yeah, totally. Flip side to Chris. My finish was terrible. I don't even know where I finished. I didn't even look. I DQ'd on the last lap. A little bit of a rough race for me. Kind of, sort of. I ended up getting into the back end of somebody. He was checking up for somebody else, and we were inches apart. I just didn't have any time to react. Smacked a wall for a couple points, and then a couple of guys spun in front of me. Same idea. I just didn't have any room to move around, so that put me out of the race. But I mean, other than that, like I had a blast. It was a fun race. Guys were racing hard and clean, really, for the most part. I mean, it's a small track, so but yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah,
All
thank you.
right.
The DQ is probably also. I don't know if anybody else has had this problem, but I still haven't seen a 2x for car contact in months. Like if you touch another car, it's 4x. That's a
Yeah,
problem with a 9x incident limit on a short track.
there you go. All right, and then Podium Esports, Brent, he got wrecked out after about 20 laps at Southern National. All right, and that's it. Final thoughts. First up, Chris Scales.
I want to thank Matt for sticking around for the whole podcast. It was really awesome to have you around, and it was great to have you stick around and participate. Usually, I think that offer is always on the table, but nobody ever takes us up on it.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I enjoy it, hanging out, talking sim racing. What's not there to like?
Exactly. All right, thanks, Chris. David Hall.
Chris stole my thunder. I was going to say the same thing. Looking forward to this weekend. We're going to be running at Sebring in the Le Mans Enduro Series. Me and Mark and hopefully Greg are going to run. Me and Mark are still sitting second in the point standings under division.
I practiced, David.
Sebring is one of my favorite tracks now. It's that I'm really good there with the Ferrari. I'm not as fast, though. I now have two really, really unlucky moments in that prototype. Tuesday night, I think I was running first 15-second lead. It was a small field late at night, but 15-second lead and pop, the power goes out.
Ooh.
And it actually blew up the amplifier for the cable service. Our entire apartment building was out of internet and cable for the rest of the night.
Dang. Well, that's first world problems. All right, Greg Hectus.
I was gonna say, David, before you didn't say on your stream that you were gonna win the thing, but like you did last time, right?
Nope, I didn't say shit. I was in the lead. I didn't even say I was in the lead. And then still, it happened.
one of the best moments on your stream is still when you tried to call that win. Anyways, actually, I want to give a shout out to all the listeners. Matt brought in a bunch of viewers to the Twitch page today. So that's good to see that people were interacting in the chat there. I was trying to keep up with it. So anybody that follow our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter for the iRacers Lounge. We're always interacting there if we can. You can also follow me on Frozen Cactus. So that's twitch.tv/Frozen Cactus, Frozen with 2 O's, Cactus 2 K's, and I'm just looking forward to getting back to racing. I think Talladega is next week, so this should be a good NIS week.
Yes. Yeah, keep sharing the podcast, guys. We're growing. Mason Stiver, final thought.
Yeah, we missed a story that was time sensitive, so I wanted to make sure I brought it up here. It's the super session for this week is the NASCAR Toro Modifieds. Chris Scales and Josh Leader and I were running those a little bit the other night, trying to get something at Bristol here, and that's your super session for the week. So check out the Toro Modifieds.
We'll get that money, man. All right, Tony Groves, final thought.
Yeah, well, in our hardware software section, I was talking about this, crazy shifter that costs like $7 million. We haven't had any, good budget, full of ingenuity, wrapped up in duct tape in quite a while. So I guess this is a request to the listeners. If you guys got something, crazy, it don't have to look pretty. It's just got to work well and work for you. Hit us up. I want to see those pictures. I want to talk about it. I want to geek out over that stuff. Anybody can, throw a wad of cash at anything and have cool stuff. I want to see these cool builds.
Grove
He wants
Simrig
He wants
Corner.
to compare him to his labels.
Yeah, send them over, guys. Send the pictures. We'll take a look. Tony Rochette, final thought.
Oh, just say the same thing what Greg said. Just follow us on our Twitter, Facebook. We do have an Instagram now. It's iRacers Lounge Podcast, all one word. I just can't wait for Talladega. That's usually one of my best tracks. I won Carb Cup last week, and I had almost won the thing, but we'll see.
Before we go with that too, I want to thank Tony for taking over the Twitter page too, and the Instagram, and doing some of our social media stuff. He's been doing a good job for the last, I think it's been a week now that you've been doing it, and I want to thank you for taking it over.
Yeah, good job. All right, and Matt Malone, final thought.
Hey, I just wanted to thank you guys for having me on, and I appreciate what you guys do here. You guys put a lot of work into the podcast, and I just really look forward to what it's going to turn into in the future, and I'll do my best to let people know about it. And if you guys want me back, definitely can do that in the future. And I'm bummed that I will not be able to do Talladega next week because I'm going to be in Vegas. So that sucks because I got into oval racing with super speedways, but oh well. So yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on. It was a lot of fun, and it was great talking with you guys.
I was hoping you'd be out there so we could team up because we are the same iRating, and but we'll see you next week. Yeah, thanks for coming on, Matt.
Thank you.
You're welcome anytime. We'll have you back for sure. My final thoughts, I'm going to keep it short. Because of my voice, I'm glad I made it through the podcast. Glad for Talladega next week. Boy, I'm excited based on how I ran in that Carb Cup race against Ray and those other Pete guys. Man, I am stoked. So let's get it, man. We'll see you guys on the track. Later.
Thanks for watching, guys, and
all right, clear. Title idea.
All right.
we're going to
Good show.
we'll see you next week.
All right,
Thanks.